Hey guys, so I'm going to be reading my first book for this channel. The book is titled Loving a Baller, and it is written by, let me get her name, Chantel Sills. I hope I'm saying her name right. So I'm going to try to get through as many chapters as I can today, and wherever I leave off, I will continue for the next day. So I have a couple books that I'm reading this week. I have about 5 I'm going to try to get through, and I plan to do a book a day. Actually try to get through a book a day, and hopefully that I'll be able to get through these. So we're going to start. Just need to get the book loaded on my Kindle. Alrighty, there we go. So here we go. Prologue. Since I was a little girl, I always claimed that I didn't have a type, but I had the tendency to fall for jocks. That didn't change much when I got to college. There was just something about jocks that always caught my attention. Maybe it was the height difference. I stood about 5'5". I wasn't short, but I still liked the idea of looking up to my guy. Not all jocks caught my eye, though. I was particularly drawn to Carmelo Anthony as opposed to the Reggie Bushes of the world. Not that there was anything wrong with football, but there was something about a basketball player that drew me in, literally. Problem was, once I got pulled in, I always went from drunk and failed miserably. Therefore, I made a vow to myself to leave the dunks and layups to the pros. I was tired of the symptoms I suffered as a result of my addiction to the game. Chapter 1, January 2011. I had been looking at colleges since the 5th grade, and it was nearly time to decide on one. For my entire life, I've been waiting for this day. It was my senior year of high school, and I had it narrowed down to 2 choices: Virginia Union University and Norfolk State University. Both schools had positives and negative aspects, and I had been accepted to both. I was leaning more towards NSU, but my family was sold on VUU. Since I value my parents' input, I decided to give VUU one more chance to change my mind. Recently, they sent me information about an event that they were having for incoming honor students, and it also had an optional overnight included where you got a chance to mingle with current students and other prospective honor students. Looking at the flyer, I figured, why not? That would be a perfect way to see how the real student life was without administration around. When I arrived at VUU, I was greeted by my host right at the student central door. She had a guy along. I hope he wasn't for me. Not that he wasn't cute, but after my last relationship, I was kind of on a guy hiatus. He was about a foot taller than me, with a slim yet muscular frame. From the length of his body, I could tell that he was an athlete. I internally rolled my eyes at the thought of entertaining another one of those. My thoughts were interrupted by the host. "Hey, I'm Jessica, and this is Jerome. I'm your host for the evening," she said with a big smile as Jerome just stood, looked at me. I returned her smile half-heartedly, but I peeped her friend staring. I wondered if she did too. I hoped they wouldn't be a problem. "I'm Brooklyn," I said with a dry laugh. "But I'm sure you already knew that." She held her smile, though, and didn't reach her eyes. I tried to keep eye contact, but her friend was making me a little nervous. I could still feel him staring. What's with this guy? "Yes, I do. But it's nice to meet you. Come on, let's drop your bags off in my room," she said, dryly, her smile gone completely. I guess she didn't notice him staring. Not my fault. I didn't ask for his attention. I bent down to grab my bags, but a deep voice stopped me. "I got those, kid." I looked up into some deep brown eyes. I was beginning to think he was a mute, but at least he can talk. I raised an eyebrow at him. "I'm definitely not a kid," I retorted. He took a quick glance at me from head to toe. With a smirk, he whispered, "I can see." She cleared her throat and tapped her foot impatiently. I rolled my eyes as I opened my mouth to respond, but he already went out the room with my bag in tow. I guess she made him jump. But seriously though, what's with this guy? I started to follow behind him with a small smile on my face, but she cut in front of me with a smirk and her eyes rolled of her own. I guess she felt some type of way now. So much for making friends. But whatever. I still took his comment as a compliment. As we dropped my things off in Jessica's room, they took me on a tour of the campus, like I had done that 500 times already. But I went along. I'm sure it was her job. During the tour, she put me back on her hostess hat and had me laughing the whole time. I guess we were cool for now. She was real chatty, while her friend, on the other hand, remained mostly quiet. He piqued my curiosity, though, and I think I piqued his. Because of our peripheral, I caught him looking over at me. I hope she didn't see. When we locked eyes, he smirked at me, and I quickly looked away, with my cheeks slightly burning up. So, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, he was definitely cute. He was the quiet, observant type, and not the kind of guy I typically went for. Our tour led us to the student center, where Jessica wrapped it all up at the pool table. Jessica excused herself to go to the pool table supplies, and I joined Jerome at a nearby table. He briefly watched me as I sat down, then he looked down at his phone. So tell me more about you, I said, breaking the silence. Nothing to really tell, he shrugged. Oh, so are you always this quiet? I asked. I mean, yeah, kinda, he said dismissively. I don't believe that for a second, I said, and he looked at me. We held each other's gaze for a minute before he eventually chuckled to himself and looked down at his phone. You're a very determined little thing, he said, still chuckling. Yeah, I don't back down from a challenge if that's what you mean, I added. He looked back up at me with one eyebrow raised. He opened his mouth to respond, but he looked over my shoulder and then back at his phone. I looked behind me and saw Jessica walking back over with the pool stuff. As she set up the table, I noticed him looking at her. When she would look up in his direction, he would quickly look back at his phone. One time he saw me watching and tried to act like he wasn't looking at her. I smiled and placed my arm on his shoulder as he got up. She looked over and frowned. Your secret's safe with me, I whispered. He smiled back as she quickly walked over and handed him the stick with her back to me. I guess that was her way of putting space between us. So is there anything in particular you would like to do tonight while you're here? Jessica asked, while waiting for Jerome to break. She plastered a smile on her face, but I could tell it was fake. I hope she wasn't doing that for my benefit. I mean, I've always been curious about college parties, I said, remembering all the stories my cousin told me during their short visits home. The alcohol, the weed, the music, the dancing, and the boys. The whole thing intrigued me, and I wanted to be part of that atmosphere. Not that I drank or smoked, but I could dig the music, dancing, and definitely the boys. That could be arranged, Jessica said, after knocking one of Jerome's balls in. Really? I said nonchalantly. I was really excited, but I wanted to play it cool, instead of showing my inner lame high school persona. Yeah, Jerome's actually having a party tonight after the game, Jessica said, watching Jerome take a shot. What game? I asked, wondering why Jerome was aiming at her ball. Everyone's at the men's basketball game right now, so the party won't be until later tonight, Jerome informed, after missing his shot. Basketball game? I asked, as my heart had slowed down and my brain went into overdrive. Yep, Jessica answered, missing her shot. They're playing right now over there in the gym. I looked over to where she indicated and felt the familiar ache that occurred when my urge kicks in. It was as if a magnet pulled me to the gym door. I was ready to quit cold turkey, but I couldn't help it. I was in a zombie-like trance. My body moved on its own as I peeked in the window and saw him. I knew I was falling off the wagon, but I decided one more hit couldn't hurt. Boy, how wrong I was, and I had known what taking another hit would do, I would have given it up. And even though deep down I knew I regretted it, and regretted it I did. When I saw him, I knew I was about to reunite with the sweetheart. I was on cloud 9, and I could see the ground beneath my feet. I had no choice but to give in. I love a man with big feet, but big feet plus great taste in shoes were exceptional nice. I was a sneakerhead on the low, and his sneakers were speaking to me. His feet were sporting a custom pair of Kobe V's, with yellow on the outsole and lining and all-black branding. He had muscular calves, and despite his baggy shorts, I could tell he had thick thighs and a tight butt to match. Too bad I couldn't determine whether he was working with a monster or not, but if that saying held true, those big feet and hands might be telling something. My body was charged with electric attention. I told myself that I would take a hit. Focus, Brooklyn, I yelled internally. before I jumped his bones and got on my own slam dunk. I refocused myself. His arms were well defined. I could just imagine how they feel when he lifted me in the air and, come on, Brooklyn, focus. You're a virgin, and virgins shouldn't have these type of thoughts. Anyways, even though he was sitting down, I could barely tell he was over 6 feet, which was definitely my type since it was well with my 5'5" The icing on the cake was his low-cut hair and brown milk chocolate skin tone. I had to back away before I went in there and made a fool of myself, but I was glued to my spot. My breathing slowed, my pulse quickened, and the moisture between my legs grew. I needed to get my mind off of this ASAP. I was hooked. Little did I know I'd be knocked off my feet with no idea to pick myself up again. Basketball, you win. I obviously can't escape you. For that reason, I'll give in to my habitual behavior, take a plunge, and entertain this infatuation I have with you. Brooklyn, I heard Jerome call. Yep, I answered quickly, moving away from the door. I took it as a sign for God to calm down. You okay? He asked. Yeah, why do you ask? Well, Jess has been calling you for like 5 minutes before I did, he said. Wow, only 5 minutes and I'm hooked again? Yeah, Jerome was going to throw a ball at you, but I wouldn't let him, she said with a dry chuckle and a smirk. He laughed, but I'm sure throwing a ball was really her idea, but I let her have her laugh. Well, that would hurt, but my bad, it was a really good game, I said, readjusting my focus to the pool table and brushing off her fakeness. I noticed they were still aiming at each other's balls, and I scrunched my face up. Why do you look so confused? He asked. So I'm not 100% hip to the rules of pool, but why are y'all aiming at each other's balls? I asked, walking up to the table as Jerome knocked Jess's ball into the corner pocket. I was thankful for the conversation switch. It helped me better get a control on what was really on my mind before my face betrayed me. Oh, it's pool just with our own rules. I want her to win, and she wants me to win, Jerome said nonchalantly, smiling at her, and he smiled back. Yeah, it's our rules, Joyce said, placing a territorial hand on his arm. Oh, cool, I said, not really seeing the point of it. You want to play? Jess asked, after knocking the 8 ball in and losing the game. No thanks, I don't really know how to, I said, half in conversation and half somewhere else. My mind was starting to drift back to the guy on the bench. Maybe I should play. Come on, it's easy. We'll show you, Jessica prompted in a fake, sweet voice, putting her stick in my hand. Now hold it like you're going to shoot. I took aim at the white ball ready to break, but Jerome stopped me. Why are you holding it so awkwardly? Jerome asked, coming up behind me. I stood up, broad straight, and we made eye contact. He held up his hands in surrender. Is it okay if I touch you? I hesitated as I looked over at Jessica. She glared at me. Sure, I guess. Okay, so get in the position where you're just in again, he instructed, and I did as I was told. Okay, so good, bend, but don't need as much arch in your back. He put his hands on the smalls of my back and straightened me out. See, flat back like a tabletop. Now for your hand position. He leaned forward beside me, letting his hand linger on my back for a second, before placing them both on my hands and the stick. Okay, so use this hand to brace and aim the stick on for your shot, and the other one is following through. So put your hand like this, thumb out like a level. He made his hand into a frame, corner, and I followed suit. Like this? I asked. Perfect. Now does that feel better? Jerome asked. Yeah, it does actually, I replied, shaking off the tingling remnants of his contact. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Okay, cool. Try it like that, he said. Looks like I'm stripes. I hit the white ball, knocking to 2 striped balls. I smiled, proud of my shot. Jess rolled her eyes as she sat down at the nearby table. I thought you didn't know how to play, Miss Hustler, Jerome teased, shaking his head at me with a sideways smile. I don't know how to play. It's just luck, I said, aiming at another ball and knocking it in. After about 30 minutes, they both finally had enough. Okay, you've beaten me 5 times and Jess 4 times. Are you sure you never played before? Because there ain't that much luck in the world, Jerome said as he looked at me. Well, my family's full of pool sharks, so I guess I got some of that in me too, I shrugged. Genetics. Wow, that's crazy, Jess said, shaking her head. I knew them losses were eating her up. Suddenly, the gym door started to open, and happy fans paraded out while cheering. Looks like the game's over. It also looks like we won. Hey, party's definitely going to be lit tonight, Jerome added. Sitting down across from Jess, I had forgotten all about going to the party. My mind had been on that basketball player for the last 30 minutes. Speaking of him, I opened my mouth to respond, but stopped when I saw him walking past. He was even better up close. Hey, you. Good game, some broad said in tight red shorts, a white tank top, and wedges. Watching her talk to him, I couldn't help but think she was a little too dressy for a game. Thanks, he responded, and his thick lips parted to display 32 perfect white teeth. The word rolled off his tongue like milk and honey, so smooth and sweet. That was the first time I heard him speak, and I definitely longed to listen to him more. Both me as well as the other girl were so preoccupied by staring at him that we both were caught off guard when a girl spoke up beside him. Hello? Don't you see me standing right here? Said a skinny, light brown skinned girl with a small round butt. She had on some Levi jeans with a school spirit shirt and some black strappy sandals. Her hair was cut short and she sported a stylish pair of sunglasses that did not hide her plain Jane brown eyes. She was average looking to say the least. No, I didn't, the first girl replied dismissively. Well, now you do. So, bye, she snapped with venom in her voice. The girl walked away, casting one last look at the guy before she disappeared out my line of vision. Who was she? No one. Calm down, Jonah, he stated, bending down to tie his shoes. He still had on his uniform the way he still had on his uniform, and the way his butt looked when he bent down to tie his shoes made me miss the tight shorts from back in the day, but it also confirmed my previous assumption about his butt. The girl was still pouted when he stood back up. He was about to speak, but paused when he caught me staring. We locked eyes, and I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. He sized me up for a minute, then winked. My breath stopped, and I plastered a stupid smile on my face. Then he put his arms around Joanne and said, Let's go, bae. I stood there for a second, still smiling, wishing he turned back around. He didn't, and I honestly thought I imagined the wink. So does the team go to the parties? I asked casually, finally coming back to reality now that he was out of sight. I was intrigued by him, but Joanne was going to be a problem. Plus, I was never the type to take what belonged to another. However, I could always look without touching. Did you really just ask that? Jerome laughed. What do you mean by that? I asked, slightly confused as to why he was laughing. Girl, we are the party, he said proudly. No one parties unless we party. Oh, wow, really? That's stupid. Give me some music and can party by myself, I interjected. I love dancing. That's good to know. We need more people like you at this school, Jessica said with a smile. I wondered if it was genuine. I was getting whiplash from her nasty, nice routine. Hey, Jerome interjected. Oh, come on. I'm not throwing shade towards your teams, but just feel like they shouldn't control their social scene, Jessica said. Oh, so you're on the team too? I asked. Yes, I am, he said quietly. Oh, so why you didn't play tonight? I asked, curiosity getting the best of me. I noticed the uncomfortable shift in both of them. I reached out and touched his arm. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. He looked down at my hand and then slowly looked up into my eyes. We both just stood there for a second until Jessica cleared her throat again. I looked over at her and she looked away. She was glaring at me. I guess Nasty was back. That's a story for another day once you become a student here and we get to know you better, he said, moving slightly away from me. I also noticed he included Jessica in our future friendship. Yeah, but too bad this isn't her first choice school, Jessica stated with a fake pout. What? Jerome looked at me and just smiled. Her first choice is NSU, Jessica enlightened him, looking slightly revealed. Why not here? What's wrong with our school? Jerome asked. Nothing. I'm just keeping my options open, I shrugged. Well, don't forget this option, because it's a good one. Definitely better than NSU, he said. Oh, okay. I definitely keep open mind about it, I laughed. Make sure you really do, Brooklyn. Jess is right about one thing. The school could use more cool girls like you, Jerome said with a sideways smile. Aw, how sweet, I said sarcastically with a laugh, but I could feel my cheeks heat up. Jerome and I locked eyes for a moment, but Jessica cleared her throat once again. Let's go get ready for Jay's party, she said, over-enthusiastic. Yeah, sure, I said. See y'all soon, Jerome said with a smile, and he walked away. I looked at him once more before following Jessica. 2 hours later, I was dressed and ready to go party. I had on black V-neck with a pair of dark blue shorts. I paired it with black Air Force Ones and some silver hoops. My hair was pulled up into a high bun because I was going to kill it on the dance floor. I went from functional rather than sexy, unlike Jessica. Jessica wore a red body contrast that showed off everything and left nothing to imagination. If she moved the wrong way, I was sure I'd see every inch of her womb. But hey, who was I to judge? Some girls just have to try, while girls like me go with the flow. That's what you're wearing? Jessica asked when she finally caught a glimpse of me in the mirror. I was about to ask the same thing, I said. What's wrong with what I'm wearing? She asked with attitude. Nothing, it's just a little much, I shrugged. And yours is not enough, she said, getting in my face, and then she walked out the door. Let's go. I guess some girls just have to try hard to look good. So sad, I said, enough for her to hear. Excuse me? She spun on her heels. Oh, nothing, I said, walking out the room. She walked in front of me with attitude. I followed her on the long walk from the dorm to the party. It wouldn't have been so bad had it not rained, but what can you do? Nature had a mind of its own. I was glad I opted for a jacket. Once we arrived at the party, I was in full swing and extremely packed. There was a line before we got in, a clear indication of a good party. Brooklyn, Jessica, Jerome called out from the door. Hey, Jessica purred in a seductive way as she walked past the line into the door. I followed behind her. Nice turnout. Yeah, it keeps getting bigger. We've been turning away people for the last 30 minutes, Jerome said. Well, that definitely sucks for them. Luckily, I got the juice, huh? She joked. He laughed along with her. Facts. I'll be in there in a few. Bro, they're good. Let them in, he said to the guy working the door. Thanks, Jessica said, squeezing his arm and giving him a wink. I'll make sure I have a drink for you. Word, that's what's up, he said. Yeah, double shot of Henny with a chaser of Jess. She winked again before heading inside. I wanted to barf and roll my eyes, but I kept it in as I started to follow behind her. Cute fit kid, he said as I paused past him. So I guess kid was a new nickname for him. Thanks, but I keep telling you I'm not a kid, I said. And I told you I can see that, he said with a smile, causing me to blush. I quickly went inside before he could see it, and my jacket was completely soaked. Despite Jerome's compliment after looking around, I started to second guess my outfit choice. Most girls rock the same skin-tight attire as Jessica. I backed up to let more people in and mistook a very tall guy for the wall. So you're just going to put your wet jacket on me? Said a very deep voice behind me. Oh, sorry. I quickly moved forward, almost knocking Jessica over. Watch it, she snapped, heading towards the kitchen. So much for making sure I was good and showing me around. Guess I was on my own. You're good, shorty, he said. After I removed my jacket, he grabbed me by my waist and pulled me into him. So you just going to stand there or are you going to dance for me? Do I look like Beyonce? I said, my smart mouth kicking in as I eased out of his grasp. Ha, that's cute. You can be my bae. Now show me what them curves can do. He smiled down at me as he pulled me back. No thanks. I'm sure there are several girls here who'd want to dance with you, I said, emphasizing the girls around us, half of which were practically drooling over him. Yeah, but I asked you. He smiled. Yeah, why? I like a little mystery, he said, indicating my attire. I could tell you were different when you walked in. He whispered the last part in my ear, then pulled back, licking his lips. Huh. You mean you like a challenge? I said, rolling my eyes. Touché, he shrugged. I rolled my eyes again, not giving a verbal response, and pulled away. Look, don't go, he said, grabbing me again. What? My bad, shorty. I shouldn't have approached you in such a disrespectful manner. I'm sorry, he said, holding out his hand. You're forgiven, I guess. I folded my arms. Oh, don't do that like that. Let's start over. I'm Robert, he smiled. Brooklyn, I said, letting my guard down a tad. Nice to meet you. You're a student here? He asked. Nah, I'm a prospective student, though, I said. Oh, he said. Yeah, still weighing out my options, I shrugged. What about you? Nah, I'm a football recruit at a local school, but I have friends who go here, and they invited me, he said. And damn, I'm glad they did, he said as his eyes looked me up and down. I felt my cheeks heat up, so I punched him in the arm. Hey, my bad. I'm just being honest. You're really beautiful. Oh, thank you? I stuttered to his assumptions. So, where are you from? I'm from Atlanta, he answered with a smile, and I noticed a small dimple. Really? That's interesting. What made you come all the way to Virginia? I asked. I mean, I heard good things about the teams down here, and most of them are offering me a starting position. Most of the schools I applied in Georgia have redshirted me because not only does my family produce guys like me, but so does my state, he said, looking directly into my eyes. Makes sense, I said, but my eyes were drawn over to Jester and Jerome in the corner of the room. Jess was speaking in hushed tones, but the hyper-expressive movement of her hand and arms were serious indications of an attitude. Jerome looked to be trying to smooth the situation out, but to no avail. His multiple attempts at reconciling seemed to be falling on deaf ears. She put her hands in his face to silence him and then stormed off. Jerome looked after her for a while, then he snuck away upstairs. My instincts told me to follow, but Robert blocked that. So what about that dance? He smiled at me. What dance? I asked, refocusing my attention on him. I mean, now that we got all the formalities and excuses out the way, are you going to throw it back or what? He asked, looking at me like, stop acting dumb. I don't throw anything back. Sorry, I declared, folding my arms across my chest. How about a nice little two-step between new friends? No grinding, no booty shaking, just clean PG-13 fun, he said with a smile. Maybe, I said. Hey, we getting somewhere, even though I would prefer a little grinding and booty shaking, he laughed. Never mind, I'm good, I said quickly. Okay, I'm sorry. I keep saying the wrong things. Let's start over. He held his hand up in defense. Start over to what? I asked. Let's get to know each other a little better. You're mad cute, and I would love to get to know you, he said. I don't know about all that, I said hesitantly. Let's just start small, he suggested. Okay, shoot. Small like what? I asked cautiously. Well, what about them digits? He asked, finally letting my wrist go. 1, 2, 3, I joked. Nah, seriously, it's just a number, so how about that? He said with big puppy dog eyes. I seriously contemplated what he asked. I mean, he was really cute and tall, and I love tall boys. But he played football, not basketball. I guess he could always be a backup plan if I never got my dream guy. Sure, give me your phone, I said as I put my number in his phone. Call my phone. Then I handed it back to him. Thanks. See you around, cutie, he said as he walked towards the front of the party. I vibed out to the music for about 30 minutes before I got fed up with the solo act. I looked around a few minutes trying to make out Jessica amongst the party, but I gave up once I saw how pointless that was. I figured I'd head upstairs in search of Jerome. Might as well be around someone I knew. Once I reached the second floor landing, I saw 3 closed doors and an open bedroom door. I turned to my left to knock on the closed one, but as I did, the door opened up. On the other side of the door stood Jerome with his shirt off and some baller shorts on. I resisted the urge to stare at the bulge that was displayed. Oh, hey, Brooklyn. What's up? He stuttered. So I'm Brooklyn now, not kid, I joked awkwardly. Yeah, what's up? He shuffled uncomfortably in front of the door. I was, looking for Jessica, I lied. Well, you found me, a voice said. We both looked back in the room, and I saw her sitting on the edge of his bed with her back facing us. I just wanted the key to go back to the dorm, I stated. I'm leaving too, so we can walk back together, she said as she stood up and let the sheets fall, exposing her naked body. She didn't bother to cover herself up as she walked towards the near side of the bed to get her clothes. She quickly dressed and was by my side in minutes. Jerome tried to hug her, and she gave him the fake church hug, and she moved her face away when he tried to kiss her. All right, let's go. She moved past me and headed down the stairs. See you later, I said to him. I had hated to see the hurt look on his face as he watched her retreat back. Yeah, see you, kid, he said with a dry laugh as he started to close the door. I put my hands out to stop him. What's up? You deserve better than that, I said quietly. Nah, that's no biggie. He started, but I cut him off. A bitch, I finished for him. Nah, it's just complicated. You wouldn't understand, he defended her. I definitely do understand, I said. There's a way to treat people, and that's definitely not it, especially if you really care about someone. She does care about me, he said defensively. Well, she has a funny way of showing it, I countered. Just drop it, okay? He pleaded. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm here if you want to talk, I said with a small smile. Are you coming or what? Jessica hollered up the stairs. Coming, I called back. Then I turned my attention back to him. Any girl will be lucky to have a guy like you. Trust me, she should be lucky. I'll see you around. I turned, went down the stairs, and caught up with Jessica outside. Took you long enough, she said dismissively. Yeah, I was giving your nigga the attention you should have given him, is what I wanted to say. But instead I said, sorry. So did you enjoy yourself at the party? She asked, putting back on her fake tour guide voice. I knew she really didn't care about my response, but I decided to make conversation with her anyway. Yeah, it was surprisingly good time, even though I didn't see who I was looking for, I stupidly admitted. Who were you looking for? She asked, definitely interested in the conversation now as she stopped our progress. Just a friend I saw earlier today, I said on the spot. Let's go. Nah, hold on for a second. We need to have a little girl-to-girl chat, she said, pulling me to the side. What's up, Jess? I said with annoyance. I knew she was about to be on some bullshit. Stay away from Jerome. He's mine, she said in a threatening tone. Too bad for her, I didn't get intimidated easily. You sure have a funny way of showing it, I said nonchalantly. And what is that supposed to mean? She asked with her hands on her hips. It means if you don't start treating him better, I'll be the least of your problems, I said matter of factly. I treat him plenty good, little Miss Virgin. But thanks so much for your riveting input, she said with a laugh. I guess that was supposed to hurt me, but I was proud to have my virginity intact. There's more to treating a man right than sex. Oh, really? Like what? Please enlighten me, she said sarcastically. If you have to ask, then you're already losing him, and it's too late for y'all. Girl, please, you're just jealous because you want him for yourself. Well, too bad, sweetie, he's already taken, she said with a chuckle. I don't want him for myself, but I do know he's a nice guy who deserves way better than you, and one day he's going to wake up and realize that. So you better wake up and be thankful for what you have. Whatever. I'll really be glad if you're not coming to my school, she said, turning her back to me. I guess that was supposed to be the end of the conversation. We continued our walk down the path, and shortly we stumbled upon a commotion to our left. I saw that Jonah girl from earlier. She looked angry and was with him. Who was that girl? And I'm not going to ask you again, Jonah yelled. She was nobody, he replied, cool as a cucumber. Then why were you dancing with her? It was just a dance, and you need to lower your voice. Oh, am I embarrassing you now? She said, getting louder. No, you're embarrassing yourself. Now stop it. Don't tell me what to do. And why not? You try to do it to me all the time. Whatever. I'm tired of your groupies. Look, I'm not about to argue with you. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. Okay, fine. We'll talk later. I'll call you when I get back to my room, she said, then turned to walk away. He grabbed her arm and turned her to face him. No, that's not what I mean. I don't want to do us anymore. You're breaking up with me? She asked in a lower tone than previously. By this time, Jess and I, as well as a small crowd of others, had stopped to observe the show. Jonah was heated and upset all at once, while he looked completely unfazed. Secretly, I was enjoying how the event was unfolding. However, Jessica didn't seem too happy about it. Yeah, I think it's best if he stopped speaking when he saw there was a small audience lingering around. Then he locked eyes with me and finished his sentence. We see other people. Making eye contact with him turned my mind to mush, but it didn't have time to refocus my thought or see what happened next. But Jess was ready to leave. Come on, let's get out of here. This might get ugly, Jess said, grabbing my arm and pulling me away. Excuse us, she pushed through the crowd. I turned around and saw him still looking in my direction. We made eye contact again, briefly, before his attention got back to Jonah. I went home the next day, replaying the whole scene in my head, and also being stuck with a huge decision to make: Northfield State or Virginia Union.